Speaking of cool things on Disney Plus, Obi-Wan Kenobi gave us a new trailer on Star Wars Day on May the 4th. Be with you. We got our new look at Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I have to just mention May the 4th is also my son's birthday. So my son was born on Star Wars Day, and my recent daughter, Delilah, was born on April 18th. You know what's big about April 18th there, Brett?
No.
April 18th.
5 days before my birthday. That's what it was.
April 18th, 1938 is when Action Comics #1 came out, introducing the world to Superman.
Oh,
so my kids are born on these epic days, man. But anyway, yeah, so on May the 4th, we got to look at a new trailer for Kenobi. Brett, what were your impressions of the trailer?
So yeah, this trailer got me so hype. I already love the tone of it. I love the look of it. There's been some really also nice little variations on the Duel of the Fates theme that I've heard floating out throughout these trailers, and it is tickling me in all the right spots.
Yep.
So I am very excited. Well, what were your thoughts? And then maybe we could talk a little details in it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I am bought in. Hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker.
That's what they say.
Listen, we're recording this on Cinco de Mayo, and in this house, we celebrate that with tacos and margaritas. So I'm surprised that's the first slur I've had of
right.
But yeah, so I'm already bought in hook, line, and sinker into this series. But this trailer in particular, we got to see a little more about the villains, these inquisitors who are looking for him, what it is that they want to do with Kenobi. You hear the female one talking about, like, I want every bounty hunter on him and finding out what he's up to. And I guess they're maybe trying to find out maybe where Luke and Leia ended up. Like, I'm not really sure what it is they want with Kenobi, or maybe it's just part of the general hunt of all the Jedi that began in Revenge of the Sith. But either way, you really get this sense that, like, he's on the run in hiding. There's these evil, crazy Empire people coming after him. And then there's the big thing at the end where, yes, we've heard teases in the last teaser. You hear the sound, but in this one, you see like the robot arm get connected. You see the little box get activated, and you realize, like, you know, they really lean into the fact that the big bad this season looks like it's going to be our man Darth Vader himself.
Yes.
So to me, that was like the big takeaway, that, like, they finally gave us a real look at Darth. So yeah, were there any other like standout moments for you in the trailer? That what?
Yes, there were, and I have a little like background stuff too. So first off, there's a scene very early on where we see Obi-Wan talking to Uncle Owen, Luke's uncle, and he says when the boy comes of age, you know, he's going to need training. And he looks at Owen looks at him and says, like, you trained his father. And I was like, ooh, that was brutal, man. I was like, I mean, he's not wrong.
No.
so that was a really, really, that's nice. Like, I love that.
And totally on brand for Uncle Owen.
Oh,
if you remember, you know, we don't spend a lot of time with Uncle Owen in A New Hope, but he's kind of gruff and he doesn't mince his words, you know?
Right.
So I love it. They kept that. He's like you trained his dad. Like, you trained, it's like, oof, ouch.
And you see it too. You see on Obi-Wan's face, he kind of is like, oh, I don't have a comeback for that one.
Yeah.
Also interesting, in both trailers, we have not seen Obi-Wan with his lightsaber or even wielding a lightsaber, not once yet. Especially in this trailer, there's been a little more action in this one. And if you notice, he's doing all hand-to-hand and stuff with blasters. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I would assume if, like, maybe he's vowed not to use the lightsaber anymore, like, because he's, you know, maybe also to stay hidden, I would think. But you have to imagine if he's going to meet up with Anakin and Darth again, that's when it comes out and we get the and then he starts going down with it. So that'll be really cool. So now a couple of little things. So I have talked to you about, I think we might have talked about it last week, a video game called Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes.
So that stars a new character. The game is canon, but that stars a new character that was created for the game called Cal Kestis, played by Cameron Monaghan.
Who played
He
the
was
Joker on
Shameless, and
Gotham.
he was also like the proto Joker, Joker on Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
So good actor. So that game takes place around the same time period as Obi-Wan. It takes place between episode 3 and episode 4.
Yeah.
And the game involves you obviously on the run, hiding from the Inquisitors. So the Inquisitors report directly to Vader. Those are Vader's henchmen. So he's got all these Inquisitors, and I guess after Order 66, they said, "Hey, we didn't get everybody," so he got a bunch of these crazy Sith Lords on board, and he's sending them out on missions to exterminate the rest of the Jedi. So the game very much leans heavily into that. And they have like cool names, like they're like the second sister, the third sister, and like I know the guys might have like different names. I don't know if there's like any. I feel like you fight a lot of like women Inquisitors in that game that I can remember. So they have like these little titles. So this show is obviously has the Inquisitors in it, and I'm wondering because there was a little quote. Ewan McGregor made an interesting quote recently. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. It wasn't like crazy specific, but he was talking about the series and how well Deborah Chow, the director, knows Star Wars and all the interconnected lore. And he made a specific comment where he said, yeah, for instance, if something happened in a game, it needs to like, make sure it carries over and is consistent with what we're doing in the show. And he specifically said a video game.
Yeah.
So I was like, And actually in season 2 of The Mandalorian, or it might have been in Book of Boba Fett, we actually do see a new droid, which is a BD unit, and that was created and original for Jedi Fallen Order. You actually have a little BD unit.
It's clearly
BD-1.
on their mind. Yeah.
So it's on their mind. They're thinking about it. They're linking it into the overall lore. So I'm wondering if we might see Cal Kestis at some point on the run. And we do know a sequel is in development of Jedi Fallen Order. So not that I would think you're going to see Obi-Wan in the game. I don't think they can get Ewan McGregor to do that. But it might be a cool thing to have Cal Kestis show up in here. And then maybe that could tie and lead into where he ends up in the second game. Or like what Inquisitors are still around. Because I think I think you fight the second sister is kind of like spoilers for Jedi Fallen Order. You fight the second sister as the final boss fight in that. And then there's a really, really cool sequence after that. I won't spoil it. Obviously I think we get rid of her, I think.
Yeah.
Or someone does. So I'll keep that vague too. She won't be there. And there was like another like one or two that showed up, but they were like big alien, thus humanoid. There was like this big alien grunt one. I forgot. It might have been like the fourth sister.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting timeline that they're playing with, and then we do have that game in there, and so I'm curious if we're going to see some characters intersect
and that's one of the perks, by the way, because the characters in games don't always resemble the actors who play them. More often than not, I'd say they don't. But in this case, the fact that they based Cal Kestis off of Monaghan, and it actually
it's like exactly him.
You could just have him play the role in live action, and it's just a seamless transition from game to screen.
And something else I just remembered too. This is a small little detail. I might be reading too into it, but in Disney's Galaxy's Edge, which is the new like park they have there in Disney, they recently, like within the last year or so, they did unveil with Cameron Monaghan. He was in like a little video showing it off. They made a replica hilt because you can get like your own lightsaber there.
His lightsaber.
They did the replica hilt of his lightsaber from Jedi Fallen Order.
It's like they want him to be,
So he's involved. His face is there. It's branded on things.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we are going to see like a fun little Easter egg in there, at least, or maybe a reference of some kind. So that could be really, really neat. I don't know exactly how it lines up, year wise with that series, but it is in that same gap. So
for sure. Cool. One of my favorite standout moments, actually piggybacking on yours, is I find it intriguing that Kenobi seems to be pushing to train Luke, because when you think about A New Hope, it certainly doesn't seem like old man Hermit Kenobi has been trying to get Luke out of hiding and trying to teach him the ways of the Jedi. If anything, by the time Luke looks for him and gets him, he's like reluctant. You know what I mean? It
Right.
takes a little bit for him to decide he wants to train him. So the fact that here we are where Luke is still a young child, and mind you, and there's been this whole thing now established in the prequel trilogy that you got to start them young. You got to start them early before they get fear and anger and other interpersonal connections into them, because otherwise they're always going to have too much emotion in them to be able to be just fully, you know, that Zen Jedi thing. And that was the big conflict with Qui-Gon and the council. They didn't think he should train Anakin because Anakin's too old, and Anakin was a child, basically. So I'm just curious. I assume that means that throughout the course of this 6-part limited series event, which you notice they were very clear on pointing that out. Like they said, this is a 6-part limited series event. For most of the other shows, like they kind of leave it open-ended, and we're going to get to Moon Knight later, which I think was supposed to be a limited event, but then turn it into something else. But here they're saying it right out of the gate. This is supposed to just be a 6-part beginning, middle, and end story here. So I assume within those 6 episodes, we might find out why maybe he starts off the series feeling like Luke needs training, and by the end he feels like, I'm just going to leave Luke alone, and maybe he's better off not becoming a Jedi. You know what I mean? Because he does seem to sort of be there once we get to episode 4. Luke, remember, he doesn't come looking for Luke. Luke goes looking for Obi-Wan. He needs help because R2-D2 comes, you know, asking about Obi-Wan Kenobi using the message from Leia. You know, so it's just, I find it interesting that all of a sudden in this clip, it looks like it's very urgent for Obi-Wan that Luke gets training when the time is right. But then we know that that's not going to be the case a few years from now when A New Hope happens. So that was just another bit of interesting little like character development stuff. I'm like, I wonder how they're going to flesh out that arc and why he has that sort of about face when it comes to all that. You know? But all in all, I think what is it, May 20 something, whenever it is that it comes out, 27th. It can't come fast enough. I need this Kenobi show in my blood, in my veins.
Injected right into me.
Yes.